Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Hello again and welcome to Quilting on the Side. We are very excited to have as our latest guest, Darla Hall, who happens to be Tori's mother. So you may have heard us talk in season 1 about quilting with our moms, and it's time to get the perspective from the other side. So welcome, Darla. If you could tell us a little bit about how you got started quilting and if it's as fun from your end as it is on our end.
Absolutely. It's so nice to be here with you guys. And I started quilting way back when I was just a child and helping my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt. We come from a big, long line of quilters, like 6 generations. So it was always part of our lives as a family. I made my first quilt all by myself when I was 17.
So you've been doing this for a couple years. Now, is your business primarily Longarm, correct?
I do Longarm for other people. I've done that since 2005, so almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to branch out to do other things as well because I've got a lot of people wanting me to help teach them how to do what I do. So, and I find it's a little easier sometimes to teach them so they can quilt their own. Because as we get older, you know, our time behind the machine can be limited.
Yeah, for sure. If there's any physical limitations, it does wear on your body a little bit.
So how did you go from a hobby to a business?
In 2005, I had a major surgery, and my girls, Tori, was in 8th grade. And I had surgery and I was home from work for a really long time. And I told my mom, I'm going nuts just staying home by myself all day. And she's like, well, here, we'll come this weekend and I'll bring you a box of scraps. And I started laughing. Okay, sure, Mom. You can sit at a sewing machine and sew, right? Sure, Mom, I can do that. So here comes Mom with this gigantic box of squares that were already cut out of double knit polyester in 2005. So you know how old the polyester was. It was at least like 25 years old. And a lot of those squares were clothing that she made me when I was in high school. So I made 17 quilt tops with those. And I did them in about a week. And I hired someone to quilt them for me because that wasn't something I was able to do at the time. And then when I paid her for those 17 quilt tops, I decided it was time for me to get a Longarm. So that's what I did. I bought me a really nice sewing machine, and about 6 months later, I went and bought my Longarm. I practiced for about a year, and then everybody that I knew, nobody I knew had a Longarm. We had to go to Los Angeles, and I lived about 75 miles north. And well, I didn't want to drive to Los Angeles every time I wanted to get a quilt quilted. So they all started bringing their quilts to me. There, we started our business.
Yeah, really organic.
It took 3 or 4 years for me to get where I felt comfortable quilting everybody else's quilts. And then I started taking some classes at Road to California, which is just an hour and a half away. And I learned from some masters, got pretty good. And then I felt much more confident in quilting somebody else's quilt. So I branched out past friends at that point.
Did you have a
And do you
favorite
find
person to learn from?
I do have a favorite person to learn from. There's actually two. One of my favorite people in the whole world that taught me how to make a feather was Karen McTavish. And I have all of her books and all of her CDs, and she's my hero. And she still reaches out and talks to me every now and then on Facebook and Instagram. And she cheers me on. She's quite a cheerleader. She's a great teacher too. And then I've been taking some online classes from Beth Ann Nemish, who has the same brand of long arm that I have. And so it's easy for me to follow her because her equipment is the same as mine. So and she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Her creativity, there are no bounds with her creativity. So those are my two favorite.
those are great resources in for long arm quilting. When you started quilting for other people and turning the long arm portion into a business, did you have any mentors or guidance specifically for that part of the business world? Because a lot of us crafters just kind of jump in and we have no business background. So how have you structured and how have you learned how to be an entrepreneur? That's fantastic that you were able to bring that experience from your quote day job into your crafting business. So besides finishing quilts, doing the long arm work for other people, what other components are there to your quilt business these days?
Tori has really been a great help. She has encouraged me, and sometimes when our adult children are adults and they get a little older, then you get in trouble because you don't do the things you're supposed to do to help your business grow. So Tori calls me and I get in trouble. Mom, you said you wanted to do this, and I'm like, I do, I really do. She doesn't really scold me. She just encourages me. And sometimes technology slows me down because I'm that generation. I didn't grow up with the technology that we have, half of what we have today. And so she helps me a lot. She helped me set up a website. She encouraged me to go on TikTok about a year and a half ago. And this last week, I started a YouTube channel.
Yay!
And I did it by myself with Tori's poking and prodding and come on, Mom, let's do it. So here we go. My YouTube channel started it day before yesterday. It has 12 followers, so yay.
And hopefully that will increase even more in the time between when this is recorded and when we get it out to the world. But yes, welcome to the world of YouTube. There are some fantastic quilters in that space, and I've been doing it for several years now. So we'll get you all introduced to the crowd.
Well, Andi, it's really funny. I moved to Bakersfield, this is where I live now, in Central California, about 14 years ago. And, I was quilting and I was doing things and I was really enjoying it. But when I moved to Bakersfield, there was a modern quilt group here. And I went to one of their meetings. At my first meeting, I sat there and I looked around and I said, I have found my people. Because the negative space gave me a wonderful place to highlight my quilting. It was simple to make. I didn't have to spend weeks or months piecing a quilt. And I'm kind of like instant gratification. I like to dig right in and get it done. So it was really opened my world to modern quilting. I went to QuiltCon 4 or 5 times. Actually, I helped in the booth at QuiltCon. That's where I met you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so it was really interesting to see that other world of quilting, and Instagram has been another real big eye opener for me. To follow and look at all the new things. I mean, I love sitting in California and watching the QuiltCon quilts come across my feed. It's in North Carolina, so I didn't have to make that trip. We got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that is the benefit of technology, even though it can be a hassle sometimes, but connecting us with quilters around the world is a lot of fun. So that's great. And so you put a course out there, right? How talk about putting that whole workshop together and um, offering your knowledge to others.
I had a course. We did 3 different sessions of that class, and I learned a lot about myself. Number 1. Number 2, I fell in love with it. Well, that was really fun to take what I know and share it with these ladies who are so eager to learn. And I have made new friends because of that. There's a lady that signed up for my course that just lives 45 miles from me. She's been to my house now. I've been to her house. And she's taken my course twice because she really liked it the first time and wanted to get more out of it the second time. And now we're in the middle of putting it together electronically and putting those classes on my website so that way people can take them electronically. I don't have to be present for them to, because I'm still working the day job, so at times a little limited to put all that together. But yeah, it's been fun. I really enjoy it. I am also the president of our local guild, and another venue that we ventured into is we received a request from our local junior college. They have an institute that teaches life skills. And they asked us if we would come and teach beginning quilt classes because they had a lot of requests for sewing classes. And so, yeah, we had our first class last week. We have 16 students. It sold out in a week, I was thrilled. And they've asked us to come back in the fall. And Saturday was our first class, and we had a blast. I didn't know one person in the class. It was a whole new experience because they had never seen rotary cutter. They had never seen a cutting mat. It took a while to wind 15 bobbins. It's a while. So some of the ladies walked in with a sewing machine in a box and they'd never opened it. And just, the thrill of sharing that with them. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And I'm really looking forward to next week till we can actually get those machines sewing and making some patchwork. So this has really been a big turn for me. I'm getting ready to retire and I'm looking for something to keep my days busy. This is definitely going to do it, and I really like it. So I'm very thankful to that community here and across the nation on these little devices that we have. It's wonderful. It keeps us busy.
Yeah, for sure. And you said the community college reached out to your guild to set that up?
Yes. And of course, the whole board looked at me and said, well, Darla, you're going to have to do it because we don't. Okay, I'll go do it. So off I went. And I enlisted help with a couple of retired teachers because they know how to fill out all the paperwork and do all the stuff involved to get on that, the payroll, if you will. So it was pretty good. And and another thing that I really enjoy too is because I do have adult daughters, is I get to share my hobby and my passion with my 2 daughters. And it's so fun that we can get together, and actually the 3 of us can get together. We sit in a room. We don't have to move. We don't have to do anything. We just sit and sew and talk and get caught up on everything. And it's just really something that you can enjoy with your family and your friends.
Yeah, I love that when the family reunions turn into a quilt retreat. It's very, very fun.
It is, especially at Tori's house. She has a basement all set up and it's all right there. And yeah, it's really cool. And then I have a quilting studio here with my long arm in it. And I have a big conference table that we can all sit and sew at. And I have friends that come over every Friday. That's what we do. We come over and sew. And it's been a real blessing. This quilting community has been.
Now, what you can't see is that she has a built-in, right off screen, full of fabric. So when I'm missing something, when I was there visiting, or when my sister is missing fabric or needs another color, we know where to go first before we head to the quilt shop. So that's definitely a plus of having a shared hobby, is that we can share supplies, especially when Mom here, she's been, quilting for a very long time. So she's got a great stash.
Yep.
And multiples of things.
Yeah, that's always nice. If, the responsible thing is to shop your stash first. And then if you can't find it in your stash, it's very nice to have Mom's stash available too. So.
Especially because I have to travel. So when I go visit, I can't really bring much with me. So I bring exactly what I think I'll need. And if I need anything else, I know I can go to Mom's house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really funny because I bought a new machine, and Tori's sister has the same brand I have. And she came over the other day and she needed a foot.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, can I borrow your foot? Sure. Knock yourself out. So she got the foot. She didn't have the right color thread. And we only have one quilt shop here, and it's really limited on the supplies that they have. So it's hard to have everything you need or everything you want, So my I buy a lot of my stuff online because that's what I like. And my girls have the same kind of taste that I do. So it works out for everybody. And I have so many people ask me, well, when you buy a fabric that you like, how much do you buy? Oh, let's see. If I have to have it a yard, if I like it, 3 yards. And if I can't think I can live without it, 5, because I'm going to share it with other people.
And so generous of you. That's a great little formula there for shopping.
Yeah.
So for beginner long arm quilters who want to get out there and start building a business, what kind of advice would you give them when they're first starting out to get their first customers? Because it sounds like you're very involved in your local community. Has that been, I guess that's 2 questions, but has that been helpful for your business, as well as being able to socialize and make new friends in a fairly new city? Because I know you lived there before and then you came back later
Yes.
on.
If I was to start a brand new long arm business today, I would definitely hang out where the quilters hang out, whether it be your local quilt shop, your quilt guilds, your online presence, wherever other quilters hang out. That's where you want to be, because if they don't like you, they don't want you to quilt their quilts. So you have to befriend people, and you have to have confidence when you say, oh, I'd love to quilt that for you. And you have to be a little bold, and you have to share your passion. They have to think that as much time as they put in their quilt top, that you're going to love it as much as they do. So, I've quilts that I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to stay together. I don't know. The color, it just like rubs me the wrong way. But I do it, do the best of my ability. And I haven't ever had anybody say they didn't like it or they haven't returned. They've all returned. And that's what you want. You want to build that repeat business. You want customers for life.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to hang out where the quilters are.
When you are meeting with customers, what are some of your kind of internal guidelines? I hate to say there's any rules in quilting, but every quilter kind of has a certain set of ideas for how to approach their quilting plan. So what are your thoughts when you first meet someone and see the quilt they want you to add stitching to?
Well, I encourage them to send me a picture. If they want to make an appointment with me and they want pricing, it's like, can you send me a picture of your quilt and tell me how big it is? And I'll be prepared when you get here. I like to do that because sometimes my emotions are on my face. And I would like to get that out of the way before I actually see it, if you know what I mean. For example, I'll give you for example. I had this lady that works at a quilt shop in Texas, and her mother lives here. Her mother's a friend of mine, and she had to have this quilt quilted in 2 weeks. It was for a wedding. She was in a big hurry, and she wanted to know if she mailed it to me, if I could quilt it and get it back to her in 2 weeks. Well, sure, yeah, why not? I had a weekend available, and she was a friend of mine. I was doing her a favor. I got a good price for it, so she mailed me the quilt. She sent it to me overnight, so it was pretty pricey. And yellow is not exactly my favorite color. I opened that quilt, and it was a bright yellow with a pale yellow background, and she wanted me to use a yellow thread on it, and it was 110 by 112. I'm glad she wasn't here when I opened the box, because I just why did I promise this lady that I would have this done? And I took a deep breath. I pinned it on my long arm. I pretended like it was white, and I did a beautiful job quilting it. And it was sampler blocks, so I quilted each block separately and made it really pretty. I packaged it back up. It was in the mail. I didn't even want it in my house but she loved it when she got it, and she sent me quilts since then. So I do have that relationship with several people that I have a lady in Australia that sends me her quilts to quilt. I have some on the East Coast. And most recently, I even sold one of my quilts to a lady in West Palm Beach, Florida. So it's really nice to see your work is appreciated by others, especially when they're quilt shop owners, or especially when they're long armers as well. Because
So just to clarify,
yeah,
because to go along with that story, just to clarify, can you describe your long arm for us?
Sure. I was going there. I have a 19-year-old A1 Elite long arm. Her name is Frankie. She's sweet.
How much throat space does it have? Give us some of the specifications.
Okay, so she is a 24-inch neck, and there is one feature that I use, and that's needle down. I don't use the stitch regulator. I don't have a channel lock. Everything I do is total freehand, and I'm really bad about marking things. I like to use the seam as the guide, not necessarily a ruler. And freeform is good. Graffiti quilting is lots of fun. Feathers I can do with my eyes closed, thanks to Karen McTavish. I can McTavish just about anything, and that is fun for me.
And you're a certified instructor for McTavishing, aren't you?
Yes. Karen has sent me a certificate saying that I was certified to teach her McTavishing class. And it's really hard to tell her McTavishing from mine. I was shocked when I saw it. I've been practicing for a few years, and I was looking on her website. I'm like, oh my goodness, it looks like I quilted that. That's so
amazing.
Funny.
Yeah, that's a very detailed kind of echo swirl. How would you describe McTavishing? It's very distinctive, and
it is
beautiful heirloom stitch.
It's a lot of echoing, and it just lets you travel over the background of the quilt with giving it so much texture. And there's really, once you get the swirl and the echo down, there's really no limit to it. And it's just a lot of fun. And it's people like it. It gives a lot of motion to your quilt. So I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. That's neat. So with, you mentioned teaching at the community college, where else would you like to expand with your quilt business in the future?
I have given trunk shows and taught quilt quilting, free motion quilting on a domestic machine at our local guild, and some of the guilds around us within about an hour of where I live. I have taught at 3 different guilds and done trunk shows there. So yeah, that was fun too. I really enjoy that. Spreading the love of quilting.
Yes, that is what we are here for. Well, that sounds like you have built a fabulous business around your true love of quilting. So that's wonderful. Let's jump into our rapid fire questions. Oh,
Okay.
Tori has something else before we start that.
I was actually just curious because we were talking about some pros. So I'm wondering, do you have any cons about sharing your favorite hobby with your daughters?
No, I don't. I just wish we had more time to quilt together.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, because you guys are my favorite people, and there isn't anyone else I'd rather quilt with than you and your
Aw.
sister.
I guess it's just the daughter perspective, Tori. I always get, there's just, and it could be my mental block that I fall into that daughter mode of, just that conflict sometimes between what I want and what mom wants or expects. And, but there's always a different perspective from the older generation in any relationship, old versus young.
So I'll be a little even more honest. If my girls ever call and tell me, Mom, can we come over and sew? I will drop everything to do that.
That's nice.
Pretty special time.
Good deal. So I'm thinking we heard the answer to this already, but our first rapid fire question is, what color do you struggle to include in your quilts?
Oh my goodness, it's yellow. Yeah, yellow.
And yellow is such a happy color. That's so funny that that's the one that you don't.
Yeah, I'm with
enjoy
mom
so
on
much.
that one. I'm with her on that one. Yellow's not my favorite either.
You want to hear
I
the
like it
story
with a
behind
rainbow.
You want to hear the story behind it, Andi?
Oh, sure, if there is one.
So when I was in junior high, I was the drum major at our and I was the president of the student body when I was in 8th grade, and our colors were blue and yellow. Everybody in the band got to wear blue. I got to wear yellow. Then I went to high school. It was right across the street, and our colors were the same color, blue and yellow. And I was on the drill team. I was in the band. I did a lot of things with student body, and it never failed. The leaders always had to wear yellow. Everybody else got to wear blue. And then my dear mother, I love my mom, but when I got to go to the junior senior prom and it was school color night, I came home from school one day and guess what I got?
A pretty yellow dress.
A pretty yellow dress. And I swore when I got to be an adult and I got to choose my color scheme, I was done with yellow.
Oh, funny.
So,
funny,
yeah.
funny.
And my senior picture I have on a yellow dress.
So our next rapid fire question is, do you prefer yardage or precuts?
All of it, yes. I like precuts when I want something to do something really quickly, but then I like yardage over there in my cupboard. So, if the precuts aren't enough, then I have that for backup.
Yeah, and fabric, discounting the sale rack, we're not concerned with that, but fabric will never be cheaper than it is today. So it's an investment. Good. Tell us your favorite notion or tool that you use when you're quilting.
it's got to be my scissors. Okay, I have this cute little pair of scissors. They're not right here, but I'm in my sewing room, by the way. So I have this cute little pair of scissors. They're about 4 inches, and I'll wear them on my shirt. I have a pair on the top of my long arm. I have a pair by my other, and I don't even use a seam ripper most of the time. Seam ripper, excuse me. Half the time I use my scissors. Because that's how I was.
Do you know the brand, or is it more the size that you're going for when you choose a pair of scissors?
I found them. Here they are. They're these. They're made by Tula Pink. They're the watercolor rainbow things, and the ends of these are so sharp. And I use them for a seam ripper and everything. These are my favorite.
Nice.
Our next question is, what is the most rewarding part of your business?
When I get to quilt an heirloom quilt that Great Granny made, they bring in these flower sack quilts that are 50, 60, 80 years old. And they hand them to me like it's the most precious thing in the world, and they trust me to quilt it. And I do, and they come back, and when they see it, they have tears in their eyes. That is the most rewarding thing, because it's like a hug from grandma.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be it.
That's really neat. And I'm going to qualify this next question that we're not counting what's loaded on the long arm, but how many quilts, finished quilts, are in the room with you right now?
Do we count mini quilts?
Any finished quilt?
Oh my goodness. Probably close to 40.
So you're a collector.
I have a whole wall of minis, and I took them all down to do a tea, and we used my minis for the centerpiece at the tea. And we had 20 tables, and I had 24 of them. Don't tell. And then I have several. I have several. So I probably have.
So with those mini quilts, did you make them all, or were they part of exchanges? Because I know that's a popular activity at shows and stuff, is to have mini quilt swaps.
I think 2 of them are mine.
Oh, okay.
The rest were gifts or swaps.
Nice. Very nice.
And I do swap things to long arm somebody else's quilt too. I have a quilt over here. Actually, I have 2 quilts that match. One of my girlfriends made a top, and it's a panel of a beautiful peacock in blues and greens. And my living room is blue, by the way. And I said, I want that. She goes, well, I'll have you quilt it. No. I want one of those. She goes, well, I tell you what, I'll make you a quilt top if you quilt mine for me. Done. Let's do it. So she made 2 quilt tops identically, and she brought one wide backing for both to load them both on my long arm. So she wants me to quilt them identically, so that way she can say we have matching quilts.
Aw, that sounds fun.
It's a great barter system. Our last question is, wait for it, who is inspiring you right now? And they don't have to be a quilt person. So who is inspiring you right now?
Well, honestly, what I'm doing in my business right now, Tori is my biggest inspiration. And I'll tell you why. Because she knows what she wants, and she goes and she gets it. And she's like a little chip off the old block, because when I was her age, I used to do the same thing. Now I've got a little slower and a little more tired, and I'm just her biggest cheerleader. And she has inspired me to get where I am today, because I wouldn't have a TikTok, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel, and I wouldn't have had online classes if it wasn't for her. So thank you, Tori.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I love how you were you're part of this family legacy, and it's just, evolving and sharing among all the generations. I think that's really, really neat. So good job, Darla, for raising such beautiful girls. And I'm so glad that they are continuing to contribute to your love of quilting.
I'm so proud of them. I really am.
Well, we have covered the whole long history there. And it was so nice hearing about your business. Tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me on Instagram under Longarm Darla. That's my handle. My website is called Quilting with Darla. And that's also the name of my YouTube channel, Quilting with Darla. So just Google me. I'm there. Come and join me. We have lots of fun. I like to go on and tell stories and do all kinds of things.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for being with us tonight. Thanks so much for being with us, Darla.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andi and Tori. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I guess it is Mom's fault.
Wow, Tori, that was so interesting hearing from your mom. How fun. What's your biggest takeaway from hearing her story of the business side?
Well, it's interesting because, I talk to her fairly often. So just sitting back and listening to her talk primarily about her business was interesting. And I think my biggest takeaway was finding a balance between in-person work and finding your customers in person, being involved, and finding them in person, and then balancing that with finding them online, because we do live in a virtual world. So finding a balance of where I can show up, whether it's in person or online, and really working both those avenues with my business. It's one thing I've been working on this year, is trying to get to in-person events. I've been looking into local quilt shops, local quilt guilds, and then I tried to go to QuiltCon, didn't quite make it, but I am going to H&H. So I'm going to really try that in-person stuff this year, which is hard when you're working full time and you've got little kids and it's hard to leave for long periods of time, or even just for like an hour to go to a quilt guild meeting. But yeah, that was probably my biggest takeaway, was really trying to balance both the in-person and the virtual to kind of help business grow. What was your biggest takeaway, Andi?
My takeaway from hearing Darla was how important it is to plug into your community. She talked about finding her people when she found a modern quilt guild, and just getting that inspiration from your community. And that kind of goes back to being online and in person. You can get your inspiration, you can learn from your community, and you can find customers there too. So very important for long armors, especially, to have those connections and to build that community. And it sounds like she's having a lot of fun with her business growing in those respects too. So
Yeah, it sounds like she balances that with like friendship and business. She finds a way to balance both within her hobby and still has a lot of fun with, and she really focuses on what she does best.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's another takeaway. She's talking about how a friend is going to piece for her, and I'm remembering she doesn't really love to piece anymore. She does piece, and she does a pretty good job piecing, but her real love and her real like art form is that free motion quilting. And yeah, I guess that would be another takeaway.
Yeah, for sure. So, as I said, I'm just so appreciative that those quilting and business lessons have progressed, and that you both have welcomed me as part of your extended family. So it's just been fun to get to know you and your mom, and hopefully we'll bring your sister along here too and get the full trifecta. So thanks to our audience for listening. Remember to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and please drop us a comment and a review. We certainly appreciate all of our listeners who take the time to do that, and it really does help our channel. So
Every
thanks to
review
all of
you
you
put
as
in,
well.
every review you put in helps other people find us.
Okay, have a great day, and we hope you get time to do a little quilting on the side. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.